So you touched on pressure a little bit.
Mm.
So if you have someone that, you know, is racing really well, riding really well, but they're still maybe struggling with pressure, you know, like they don't, sometimes they just get in their own head. Is there something that you do? Is it kind of like you go back to the data to be like, look, you've won, like you've done it
Mm.
before, do it again, it's okay? Or
Yeah.
like, how do you, is, do you have any, you know, meditation practices or anything that's like, try to get that pressure so it's not so intense? Because I even feel that sometimes just shooting, doing photo shoots and stuff. Like I'm like, I
Yeah.
gotta look cool, and
Yeah.
then I get in my head and I crash. You know, it's like,
Yeah. No, and that's a good question, Sean. I think pressure has different applications. I believe it's not a good thing to put pressure on yourself, but how do you get it off yourself? There's the big question. And I do believe that it goes back to, and I talk to my guys about the preparation part, meaning if you've done everything in your power to prepare the best that you could with the timeline you were given and all the other little bits that you've had on your plate, then you should have some sort of confidence in that I've done everything. Now let me go and test the waters. And the pressure, once again, that you put on yourself is a deflating module, if you can call it that. It's
yeah,
to me, having nerves, a little bit of nervousness is good because that's going to keep you sharp. So I think also differentiating between the two and getting the athlete to understand that, hey, listen, having a little bit of nerves, that helps, and then that kicks up your adrenaline, and that's a good thing because that's going to keep you sharp and help you do a better job of what you're doing. But actually letting pressure load you is a negative. And I think getting them to understand the difference is important.
hmm
And then also getting them to understand that certain things are out of your control that you can't do anything about. So don't add something to your plate that you actually are, it's just wearing you down. So,
yeah,
and each guy's different on how they apply themselves to that or even think about it. And even from my end, how I read each athlete, you can see if an athlete's maybe putting pressure, or is he just the nerves part, or how, where is that on the line, you know?
yeah. Well, that kind of leads into another question of like, depending on the, I'm sure it's dependent on the rider and the racer, but you know, sometimes I've heard people listening to music on the line or before a race to get them psyched up, and then
Mm,
other people listening to more calming or stuff
yeah.
to kind of calm the nerves. So how does that play into it? And like, what is your suggestion, or is it just person by person?
I think it is person by person because it's also, I'm always intrigued when a guy puts his headphones on. I'm almost thinking, okay, well, what are you listening to? And then when I found out what he's listening to, I was like, man, that I would have never listened to that, you know. But there again, that's my point of view.
Right.
I always felt when I raced bicycle, I kind of wanted a calming effect. Now I get motorcycles are different, so but I do believe that that's individual, and as long as it's, to me, building them up, meaning that they are actually upbeat, going to apply themselves the best way, and this is music that or something that is helping them, almost like a warm up, then I think it's a good thing. But I do believe it's a preference to what each person. I mean, gosh, I can't believe all the young kids, they listen to rap music where I'm like, well, I can't get it. I can't even understand what they're saying. But there again, it's a generation. So it
Yeah.
goes back to, it's that is an individual part of it. Yes, for sure.
So does this lead into kind of like, I think for some people routine is really important,
Hmm.
either practice day or race day or whatever. Uh, is that something? Maybe talk a little bit about routine and how that can be part of it.
Yeah. Well, I think routine is obviously important because you want the body to just react. In order to get the body to react, things have got to be naturally, you know, that just got, things have got to fall into place as natural as possible. That's
Hmm
why we do so much repetitive training. So it becomes instinctual. It, you know, you could not even thinking, it just progresses and forms the way it should go to the best of your ability.
hmm
So I do believe that everything you do normally in your normal routine should translate to your race weekend.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I've seen is athletes, well, the first thing they ask me is, hey, so what should I have on race day? And I'm like, well, what are you having on every other day that we go to the track and all that? Don't change anything, you know? So there's that tendency to want to change on the most important day, but then why are we doing all this routine and structured planning? And I feel like that's so important, that you take exactly what you're normally doing and you carry on with that into your actual race day.